welcome. Welcome to this wonderful day. No rain. Rain can be good when it's right time, right place, but certainly this morning a lovely autumn morning. And being here, perfect space to connect into our retreat, our half-day retreat. Even though it's a half-day retreat, it can be still very poignant and important. Certainly at times we do full-day retreats, and maybe yourself have done weekend retreats, 7-day retreats, 10-day retreats. But I think that for the most part it's about the quality of your awareness, the quality of your mind, heart, consciousness, not how long the retreat is. So hopefully you get a good sort of feel into and taste of meditation and being retreatish with our half-day session. So as a bit of a preempt and sort of setting up our retreat, half-day retreat today, really important to be mindful and be aware that what we're doing is something significant, something special, taking time out of our week, taking time out of our weekend, taking time out of our Sunday to be here. So using the time to really retreat, and retreat is a movement away, and so we're moving away or moving back from the usual ways of how we might be using body, speech and mind on a Sunday morning, unless you're usually meditating on a Sunday morning. But in many ways retreating from the ways of the world, retreating from worldly values, worldly concerns, worldly pursuits, and moving towards that which is non-worldly, that which is more special, spiritual, sacred, as in meditation. So making that intention to make our morning special, spiritual and sacred, which certainly is the theme for our half-day retreat, meditation as special, spiritual and sacred. And if you think about it, for thousands of years it's been said by sages like the Buddha, saviors like Jesus Christ, by saints, various saints, scientists more recently, and psychologists, that one of the most important things that people can do is to connect into that domain of our being, which is the spiritual, the sacred. That sense that we need that. We need that for our psychophysical health and well-being, and certainly it's been something that's been part of our humanity for thousands of years. That sense of otherness, the sense of something beyond just the material, mundane, mortal approach to life, which can become rather tedious and rather unsatisfying, even unsatisfactory. But to resource, to tap in, to sense, feel, know and be from that deeper domain of our being. And of course religions can create different wrappings and trappings around that, which certainly maybe helps to preserve certain teachings and certain practices. But fundamentally it's about the practice of going within as opposed to going without. I say to people, go within or go without. And if you don't go within, then you're missing out on something quite special, something that can nourish our being, that maybe we sense as something important, something that we need to connect into to give life meaning and purpose. Again, beyond just the going through the motions of mainstream life, looking after these bodies, earning a living to help look after these bodies, some entertainment, some relationships and so forth, but to actually sense and fathom something more profound to make use of our precious life with. Also, one of the most significant things that the Buddha said that human beings can do is to cultivate the quality of their consciousness. So the Buddha is saying one of the most precious, important things that human beings can do is cultivate the quality of their consciousness. So beyond physical sort of external amazing things that human beings can do, but actually to develop that quality of awareness, quality of consciousness, and meditation is certainly the way to that. So we're in the right place, and we'll be engaging the right practices for doing that. It's great to see so many people coming out to spend some quality time practicing some meditation. And obviously as well, taking that home with you, both in terms of the results of meditation, but also the practice as well, which I know many of you already do as a regular practice. For me, it's been something which has been significant in my life, in many ways as my life, for over 40 years now. It's a daily practice. So it's something which I find most essential, most important for making life worthwhile and meaningful. In fact, adding meaning to everything else as well, because if we have a calm, clear mind, then it's through our mind that we perceive our experience, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, feeling, and thinking. So whatever we're perceiving, it's received into a calm, clear mind, and therefore there's added value to that experience, and also added value to what we do with that experience. Whether it's working or leisure time, we're going to be more present for it, more clear-minded about it, having that more real experience as opposed to just being caught up in the next thing, missing out on what's going on now. That sense of live now, not next, because life is always only now. So the theme of meditation as special, spiritual, and sacred, it may bring up sort of thoughts for yourself and considerations, maybe a sense of resonance. Yes, of course. But I think what we're dealing with, certainly in contemporary times, and certainly something which I've seen occurring over the last 30 years, when I left the monastery that I was in for about 10, 11 years, there was the starting of an openness in contemporary society and culture to meditation, particularly for the purpose of developing mindfulness. I spent 2 years as an intern psychologist working at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital in the pain management centre, and using mindfulness meditation as sort of recommended or taught by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who sort of was a bit of a start-up in getting mindfulness into the medical mainstream. And I could see that it was really helpful for people to be more mindful around their chronic pain, more mindful of their thoughts, mindful of their sensations, not adding and reacting, causing tension, tightness, more mindful in their movements, using mindfulness and meditation to help close the pain gate, sort of a neurological brain gate that can close so there's less perception of the pain. So certainly over the last 30 years, meditation has moved mainstream, but primarily into the areas of health, certainly psychology. A lot of psychologists recommend mindfulness and meditation, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, and in a way, certainly also into the sporting professionals using meditation to run faster, to be more mindful, to not think about things, to be less stressed, to perform better, also into corporate life. When I was living in Sydney, I taught a lot of meditation courses in the corporate sector, because if people are less stressed, then they're more focused on their work, less distracted, more at ease. They can work longer and work faster and work harder without burning out. Bottom line, money. But I felt a sense that it doesn't quite appreciate, maybe not even appreciate at all, where meditation and mindfulness has come from. And it's come from a very, very powerful, very long-lasting, long-standing, well-practiced tradition in the context of spiritual life, religious life. Certainly in the Buddha's teachings, meditation is the central practice. The Buddha's Trinity, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, so morality, living in a wholesome moral way. Meditation, developing the quality of our consciousness, and then being able to see things more clearly, developing wisdom. But it's meditation which is the main practice, the main activity. And so that I think that we've reached a certain point in our appreciation and practice of meditation mindfulness that maybe we can return to or remind back to putting meditation mindfulness into its spiritual, religious, sacred context, so that we don't miss out on something special. Something special, so it's not just a mental gym exercise for enhancing your professional performance or health. That's important, but there's something maybe more special about meditation. And by appreciating that, we can then be more motivated to our meditation, because it's something which is a transpersonal experience, something which moves our mind heart, beyond being caught up in thinking, self, past, future issues and concerns, something that we can resource as a special experience that can then maybe even lend a certain perspective of how we then see life, ourself, and what's really important. So making it a special, spiritual, sacred practice. In terms of what that might look like, well, it depends upon the individual practicing, depends upon where you're at in your practice. Certainly there's a lot of people that come to meditation because I just want to de-stress, and we do a bit of meditation at the end of a yoga class maybe, but others go, no, I'm ready for something deeply nourishing for my being, for my heart, something that's extra to just the happenings, the comings and goings and doings and activities of mundane life. So that's where certainly it's important to nourish that aspect of ourself and that sort of appreciation of what meditation is. So firstly, meditation as special. All of you have practiced meditation enough to sense that it is special. It's not just a normal thing that everybody's doing. It's and doing a lot of. It's a special activity. It's something which we do outside of often just regular sort of life. It's making a special time, creating a special place. And even the fact of doing something special like sitting still and just sitting still. We're not sitting still moving, we're not sitting still reading, we're not sitting still knitting, we're just sitting still. We're also, we have our eyes closed as well, so we're not sort of sitting still looking at things, and we're not speaking, and certainly you can sit still and speak, but we're not speaking. And also, further to this, we're not particularly engaging thought, though some meditation may use some degree of conscious thought, whether it's the thought of a mental word in the mind, a mantra repeated, or whether it's a contemplation or reflection. That's also valid meditation, but it's done in a conscious way, not just sitting there fantasizing or getting caught up in fears or frustrations, but we're using thought in a conscious way, or more especially allowing the mind to quieten down so there's no thought. And how special is that? It can be really, really special to have a mind that is not thinking, that's quiet, that's still, that's not cluttered with thought. So there's inner spaciousness. That becomes something remarkable. And in that, it's something which we can practice and develop, so that during the course of a meditation, say sitting for 30 minutes, it's very likely that you're not going to have a still, quiet mind for 30 minutes. There's going to be a few thoughts that come up, but the practice is to just let go, come back, begin again, let go, begin again. so that there's an increasing over time of the inner stillness, silence, and spaciousness that enables the meditation to become more special than what we are usually doing, saying, thinking in our life. And I think also that we need to make meditation special in this way because certainly in the work that I do as a psychologist, I've seen that most people's issues and stresses occur because they think too much. You know, everyone is addicted to thinking. It's like, can't stop thinking. You can go without a breath for about 2-3 minutes, but average person, can they go without a thought for 2 or 3 minutes? It's very, very challenging, but it's certainly possible. And I think that there's been an increase in our thinking habit over the last 20-30 years as well, because life has become a lot more complex, complicated, confusing. There's a lot more stuff to be thinking about or engaging your attention, especially these little devices. So gone are the days where you sitting waiting for a bus at a bus stop or at a train station or on a bus, on a train, just sit and just maybe looking out the window, just sitting. People maybe, yes, they used to read as well, but these days, as you've probably all seen, in any place where there's a doctor's surgery, everyone's on their phones, engaging, thinking, doing stuff, writing an email, doing their Facebook stuff. Their mind gets very, very full of information. So we do need to consciously create some time, some downtime, where we're not thinking, we're just being and knowing rather than doing and thinking. In fact, I mentioned to some of the clients that I have that are school teachers, it's really, really important to teach children how not to think. It used to be, okay, we teach kids how to think, how to read, how to write, but we need to teach them now how not to think, because there's just so many more thoughts happening, causing them to be, get caught up in fears and frustrations and stresses and confusions and so forth, which then affects their mental health and physical health as well. And also missing out on this correct, direct, objective perspective on experiencing life, just seeing without thinking, just hearing, just smelling, just tasting, just touching, just feeling. In a way, being able to exercise more the right side of our brain, which is more involved in body awareness, sensory experience, and feelings and emotions that we feel in the body, as opposed to the left side, the logical, linear thinking side, that's become a lot more overemphasized, again, in the last 30 years. So meditation becomes a special practice for looking into, also looking after ourselves and helping us to look out into life in a more clear-minded way. This also leads to meditation to becoming more of a spiritual practice. Spiritual as in not fundamentally only focused in the physical. A spiritual practice where certainly it's been a foundation practice, as I mentioned before, in most religious traditions. They're sort of advocating some form of meditation, prayer, contemplation, for going within, quieting the mind, opening up to something that's beyond just thinking, the thinking self, and particularly also developing qualities. A lot of Buddhist practice is about developing spiritual qualities, virtues, and list on the chart here of the 10 virtues the Buddha mentioned is quite significant. So dana, sila, nekama, panya, virya, kanti, satya, adhitthana, metta, upekkha, being generosity, morality, renunciation or letting go, wisdom, energy, truthfulness or honesty, determination, loving kindness, equanimity, Miss one out?
Patience.
Patience. Patience. So developing spiritual qualities which we then use into daily life. So meditation in itself is developing all these qualities. As well as, some of you are aware of the Brahma Vihara. These are called paramita, spiritual virtues. Brahma Vihara, the divine abidings, spiritual abidings, abiding in and from metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. So kindness, friendliness, abiding in and from loving kindness, abiding in and from karuna, compassion, abiding in and from mudita, joy with and for others. And the last one, upekkha, abiding in and from equanimity. Spiritual qualities or virtues of the heart that we can engage and also develop in meditation practice. So, as well as many other qualities and virtues that meditation helps us to develop. And it's interesting that just sitting still, being silent, not talking, not even thinking, does develop these qualities. Again, when you notice for our session today, just sitting, being patient, letting go of thoughts, a gift to ourselves, being generous, a gift to others, calm, clear-mindedness, maintaining our motivation, determination to stay with the breath, stay with the focus. So many qualities we're developing in the practice of just sitting meditation. And as well, moving into a sense of a deep, profound peace. And this is where meditation becomes something sacred. Something sacred, a practice that leads the mind, moves the mind away from the world and worldly issues and worldly gains into a deep, profound, calm, clarity, peace and presence, which we can call something which is sacred, special. It's not something that you can buy down the corner store or online. It's something beyond that. It's beyond the material, mundane. It's you can't download it. It's something which needs to be felt and fathomed within our being. And again, this is one of the main reasons that meditation has been practiced for thousands of years in religious domains, particularly by monastics, monks and nuns, yogis, swamis, gurus, and whatever tradition, as a special practice for going within and experiencing that deep, sacred space, the mind that's not caught into limitation, the limitation that thought creates, the limitation that thinking that creates a sense of identity and self creates, something profound. So in that becomes part of the possibility of meditation, to see it as a sacred practice that leads to a sacredness and as something significant within ourself, that helps us to then maybe see our life and see others in a much more meaningful and profound way. I think that the world at this point, even more so than at other points, needs more people practicing meditation, particularly in this context, special, spiritual and sacred. Because again, with all the types of media that we're involved with, information that's being moved around the world really, really quickly, and most of it is often of a distressing, disturbing, upsetting, confusing nature. It's like a stress virus that is spread. Just press a button and send an email, or go online and look at an article that hundreds of thousands of people can see in an instant, and everyone gets stressed by it. A program on the computer or a news event or TV, suddenly it's upsetting. So we have to be more careful of looking after ourselves, and particularly meditation, not just for health reasons, but having that orientation of not just being caught up in the mundane, worldly stuff. And maybe the worse or the more challenging the world gets, the more we do need to connect into that spiritual sacred domain of ourself, and again live from that, so that we're in a way being somewhat of an emissary or a missionary of peace. Not that we're having to sort of talk too much about it, but just being at peace on the roads, driving, in the shopping centres, at work, being the peace that the world needs, being the calm and clarity that the world needs. And that's a great gift to others. So our sessions today, certainly meditation, but to have that appreciation of making meditation more special for ourselves, more of a spiritual practice, something which is sacred, something which we protect and preserve and look after, something that we honor. And in doing so, we're honoring the traditions that are thousands of years old in terms of meditation practice. We'll have time for questions and discussion and so forth. But again, because we only have a half-day retreat finishing at 12:30, probably good to get into some meditation. So if you need to stand and stretch for a minute before we sit for about 30 minutes, feel free to do so. Anyone that hasn't practiced some meditation before? No, good. So just establishing our comfortable sitting position, aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable an inner mindful presence. Our eyes gently closed, helping to bring our awareness within. And we can begin by having an initial, deep, relaxing, letting go breath, using the breath to release any stress tension from our body. Breathing out, letting go of issues, worries, concerns. And before focusing attention on our breath, just relaxing awareness down into our body. Feeling into our body with awareness. Feeling grounded, settled, centered, present. Sensing and feeling the whole of our body sitting here. The mind in the body and the body in the mind. And particularly noticing a few contact sensations, points of mindfulness, noticing and feeling our feet connecting with the floor. Feeling our body connecting with the chair, cushion, or meditation stool, just noticing that particular contact sensation. Connecting with the chair, cushion, or stool, just noticing, feeling. Not so much thinking about it, but sensing, feeling. Then bringing our awareness up to our hands and fingers resting in our lap, making sure they feel comfortable, adjusting them if we need to. Maybe feeling our hands and fingers resting in our lap, one hand against the other. So noticing the sensation of our skin, or maybe against the fabric of our clothes, just noticing, sensing, feeling. Hands and fingers. And then bringing our awareness up to the abdomen, belly area, relaxing that area, often a place where there's tension, so softening the belly. Bringing awareness up to the chest area, relaxing the chest so we can breathe freely. And then bringing awareness up further to our face, noticing our face. And maybe even feeling the subtle sensation of the air against our face. And then noticing light coming in through the closed eyelids. Even though the eyelids are closed, we can still see some degree of light. Lightness, brightness, color, patterning, blankness. So looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. A forward focused gaze into the space in front through the closed eyelids. And even if we hear certain background sounds, not being distracted or disturbed by them, we don't need to think about them. And likewise, the internal mental sight or sound of thoughts. We don't need to engage into the activity of thinking. So even if a thought occurs, we don't have to get involved with it. Using this time to quieten the mind down. Taking a break from the mental activity of thinking. And to help that to occur, we can bring our attention to the sensation of our breath, wherever you feel the breath the most, which may be certainly in the nose-nostril area, directing attention to that place of contact, feeling the inflow sensation at that point, feeling the outflow sensation at that point, and just letting our body breathe itself naturally, not forcing or controlling the breath, letting the body breathe itself, receiving the gift of life with each breath, then letting that breath go into the space around us. Feeling and knowing each individual breath, while also looking into the lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids. And if it's helpful to use a mental word or two in the mind, a mantra, with each breath, And maybe you have a special word or two that you can use. For example, just the word calm on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. Calm, ease, calm, ease, calm, ease. Exercising attention, developing focus, collectedness, concentration, and inner calm ease. Engaging this special, spiritual, sacred practice, meditation. Allowing the mind to become calm, clear, quiet, still, silent, spacious. It's amazing to have so many people in one room and everything's just quiet. Special. Special, spiritual, sacred. We can continue our meditation with some walking meditation. But those that want to keep sitting, that's fine as well. We'll do otherwise walking for about 30 minutes until 11 outside. So just taking a distance of 10 or 10 to 20 paces, and then just slowing your pace down so that you're walking maybe half the normal walking pace. Eyes open, cast down about 2 meters ahead, hands in front or behind, and then just mindfully walking, feeling the lifting and the placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Get to the end of that space, and then mindfully turning, and then walking back again, stopping, turning, walking back again. So walking meditation is not so much walking a distance, but just walking, pacing back and forth, which could be along the concrete paths around the room, the meditation room here, underneath the carport area, on the grass outside, grass on the other side of the house, or otherwise the grass area just down from the rock wall, or out the front a bit. There's a road that goes, or a track that goes through this property up to some neighbours, so don't walk on that road because the neighbours sometimes come down fast, or otherwise walking in the car park down below. And I will ring these chimes when to come back. When you hear that, just mindfully come back, and then we'll go into another sitting meditation for about 30 minutes so that you develop this momentum of mindful presence. So sitting and then walking and then sitting. And again, if you do want to sit a bit longer now, that's fine as well, or go out and walk, come back in again before the 30 minutes. So just using the time well. So feel free to mindfully stand. We'll also just have a tea break at about 11:30 in an hour's time. Settling into our meditation, sitting meditation, keeping the momentum of mindfulness going, relaxing into the sitting posture, sensing, feeling our body sitting here. Having a few mindful letting go breaths. The eyes gently closed, bringing awareness within. Bringing awareness to the breath, the inflow, outflow, sensation of our breath. Each mindful in-breath, helping to quieten our mind. Each mindful out-breath, opening our heart to the present moment. Breathing in, quietening the mind. Breathing out, opening the heart to the present moment. Breathing in, quietening. Breathing out, opening. Quietening and opening. Quietening, opening. Feeling each breath in each present moment. looking into the lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids. Using one or two mental words in the mind if it's helpful to maintain our focus. Allowing the mind to settle into a sense of heartfulness, mindfulness, heartfulness, presence, simply being, a simple feeling of being here, being now, being aware. Allowing the fundamental nature of the mind-heart to become apparent as inner stillness, inner silence, inner spaciousness. Perceiving the present moment intimately, deeply, lovingly. The present moment, all that there is, right here, now. Realizing the point of existence, the present moment. Justin, can I get you to check the urn out there's warm enough? Thanks. So how are we feeling now? Chilled out?
Balanced.
Pardon?
Balanced.
Balanced, good. Back into balance. Recalibrated. Mind, body harmonizing. Yes, it can be special just to take time to sit, be, breathe, know in the present. Come back to center. Still at the center. And obviously maintaining this calm and balance into whatever moments one's having beyond the meditation practice. So the quality of mind or quality of consciousness continues, even though we may be moving, standing, walking, talking, eating, drinking, but a sense of the quality of that presence continues as long as possible. So we'll take a tea break, maybe for about 15, 20 minutes. And feel free to sit outside, or if you want to come back and sit inside with the cup of tea. If you want to sit by yourself, then that's fine as well. If you want to sit with someone, have a bit of a chat, do so mindfully, obviously. And when we come back in, we'll have any questions or comments or complaints, discussion. So, and we'll finish up then with a last meditation as well, a shorter meditation. So feel free to be outside and cup of tea and enjoy some space and sunshine. So considering mindfulness and particularly meditation as a special practice that's also a spiritual practice and also a sacred practice, both in terms of the actual activity, the practice, and also then the experience, what results from the meditation. Both meditation and being more mindfully present, so that the meditation has a carryover into mindful presence or being aware in ongoing day-to-day life. So for yourselves, from what I've said and also the notes that I put together, any particular thoughts or questions or comments that you might have? You find that it resonates with you, seeing meditation as something that is sort of special and spiritual and sacred, as opposed to just another exercise to do in the day to get done because it has sort of health benefits, making it something, special, significant, important, beyond that sort of just a practical thing to do. Taking the multivitamin tablet.
I think it's that's a massive shift from what you're sort of talking about, like the mundane day-to-day stuff. For me personally, like a massive shift from turning it into from the mundane exercise that is that to something special. And I think I'm going through that transition right now of trying to give it a little bit more the practice, a lot more of a special attention and focus. So it's fantastic that today's emphasis is on such.
I think with what you said there, Sebastian, what also is important is that we're honoring something special, spiritual, sacred in ourselves. It's not just, okay, meditation for mental health and fitness and so forth, but it's more like by doing this, which is a really simple, can be very, very simple activity, sitting quietly in the mind, being aware of the breath, but we're honoring a domain of our being that's just beyond the worldly stuff that we otherwise get attracted and distracted into. That's like honoring ourselves through this practice. And also connecting with a lineage of meditation practitioners that goes back thousands of years. So something special in that. Simple, but incredibly special, which can be a great inspiration as well. It's like, wow, I'm doing something that's been recommended, that's been practiced by, as I mentioned earlier, by sages, by saviors, by saints, by spiritual practitioners for thousands of years. And I can now do it in the 21st century. There's no laws against it, which there may have been in the past. The taboo of meditation, the taboo of sitting quietly by yourself and with your eyes closed.
It connects us to something far deeper than the superficiality of this world.
Yeah.
It moves us to a place where we touch that is uncomparable to the day-to-day experiences.
Yeah.
And
what it connects us with is something which is beyond the limitations of the egoic self, which is a limited, mentally produced construct, a relational tool. So we're connecting into a being, a beingness, which in a way resonates and connects us with all other beings beyond like the personal self. This is me, that's you, a dualistic relationship, a type of interconnectedness that's even beyond connection. It's a oneness that's there. And that can be certainly a deep spiritual experience as well, often called a religious experience, a peak experience, a spiritual experience, a sense of experiencing that which is beyond our usual way of knowing and experiencing life. Tim?
I have real difficulty in loving and accepting myself, and it's a way to get there to love.
Yeah, because the sense of self is always limited, can always be better, can always be different. There's always going to be the pains of the past. But we go beyond that surface level domain of self to that beingness, which is totally love or lovable or acceptable, because it's not anything in particular. It's not so much a thing, it's more of a suchness. And Brendan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, John, for me, it's probably about 2.5 years ago where I kind of came to that realization that, meditation in my life is special, and to, make it the most important thing that I do every day. So, nowhere near your 40 years, but on that journey at least. And I noticed that the longer that I make it the most important thing, the more there's an underlying sense of ease, and the stress that I had around worldly things, diminishes, the longer that I continue that practice. So, making it special, making it a priority, those benefits accumulate gradually over time to make it even more special.
And it becomes something beyond what you're doing. It becomes the meditation is what you are. You are that calm, clarity, stillness, spaciousness, silence, beingness. So it becomes a beingness rather than a thing that I am doing. And then carrying that forth into the whatever is happening in the day. Life is just a happening.
I think he has. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, Alberto.
No, you go ahead.
Ivan sort of was.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, obviously you brought up that meditation has been taken out of its cultural framework, religious framework, and is used as a mindfulness tool. And I'm wondering what you think modern psychology is missing in doing that. I understand from Buddhist practice and spiritual teachings in particular, meditation is coupled with moral development, and that seems to be not emphasized in modern psychology. So people can just keep going living an imbalanced lifestyle and then kind of put meditation on top of that and therefore get limited benefits. And I also wonder about the differences in goals. For example, the goal of spiritual meditation is for, freedom of attachments, enlightenment, this kind of thing, and perhaps modern psychologists don't have that goal in mind.
And that's very true. The only good thing is, or maybe there's maybe a number of good things, but one is that even if someone hasn't done meditation and they're introduced to it as a way of dealing with their pain or as a stress management tool or a sporting sort of way of in sports how to be more focused, but it may then get them to go further with it. So they may sort of have this little entree of, okay, try this meditation for your stress management, and then they get interested and they come to a meditation group and hear some teachings and look something up themselves in a book, and it can go further that way, depending upon, I guess, people's merits or karma. But as I mentioned this morning and also in the notes, that it is a concern that it's becoming superficial and just a technique, a self-help technique that people use, and especially taking it out of its context, because also meditation can be incredibly powerful, and therefore people need to have the context of mindfulness and wisdom, morality and wisdom to help. Otherwise they can become very mindful, even have a deep experience, but get overwhelmed by it because they don't know what it's about. I think, oh, that's really confusing and distressing, and suddenly there was just the breath and I wasn't there, and that was very distressing and confusing. So having that spiritual, religious, moral and wisdom context helps it to be understood and progress further. Very much in the same way that yoga, probably all the yoga teachers in the room will be aware of this, that yoga is several thousand years old, and the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the 8 limbs of yoga, his treatise that sees yoga as a whole way of life that includes mindset and moralities and ways of being. But with the West has sort of cherry picked, I'll just take that bit of yoga and as exercises to do for the body. Fine, but it's so much more, like meditation.
So would you argue that a psychologist should also give precepts to go along with a meditation practice?
That'd be a good idea.
Right.
Or even just the suggestion that if you want to reduce your stress and have a happy, healthy, meaningful life, then you need to live in a way that is not going to cause distress for yourself or others, even though it might be fun at the time, but it does have consequences. So getting people then to be a bit more mindful and aware of how they are living, if they want to really be happy and healthy and to perceive something deeper, more special, more spiritual in their life. And studies show, even psychology studies, research shows that, yes, many benefits of mindfulness meditation. There's, lots and lots of research that's been done over the last 20, 30 years about that. Wonderful. But also there's research that shows that people that have a religious, spiritual appreciation or sentiment or practice generally are happier people. And also they're less likely to get sick. If they do get sick, they recover better, as opposed to being caught up, well, I am just the body, this is who I am, this is what I am, I'm sick, and therefore this is devastating and horrible and getting depressed. But if there's a sense of life and meaning and being beyond just the physical, material, mundane, mortal, then it helps to then couch or perceive what's going on, illness, in a more wiser way, and not be so distressed by illness. And also a sense of confidence in a greater way of being.
I've heard that about recovery from addiction as well. That people with, you know, some sort of faith, you know, spiritual belief, will, you know, have a much better chance of, you know, addiction recovery.
Hence the 12-step program that uses that sense of appreciating a spiritual awareness greater than one's egoic self. And also now there's what's called refuge recovery, using the Buddha's refuge as a program for people dealing with addiction. Put together by Noah Levine, who is Stephen Levine's son. Stephen Levine spent many, many years during the 80s and the 90s as a spiritual teacher, meditation teacher, and also a thanatologist. So Thanos, death, working with people that dying, working with the grieving, especially through the AIDS epidemic. And so his son focusing on using Buddhist refuge, the Buddha Dharma Sangha, as a way of helping people to have a sense of confidence and faith and strength beyond just getting caught into their addiction.
I think there's
Yeah.
I think I'm just reflecting, there's such a range, isn't there, of, like I see, there's a sort of a spectrum. Like at one end, you've got, you know, people who maybe go to an occasional meditation class and consider themselves meditators, but it's more sort of part of the well-being movement. Influencers and that whole world. And then there's things like MBSR and MBCT, which are sort of, I think, pretty good and pretty solid, actually, even though they don't have the whole Dharma framework. And then there's, you know, it's like a huge.
There's a spectrum, and maybe people arrive at the spectrum where they need to be, and then they can move along it in a particular direction, or even change direction.
A gateway drug. Like a gateway drug, it can be the opposite, you know. And I'm just reflecting as well on how sometimes, and I've had sort of applied to me a long time ago, actually, and I think sometimes when you talked about having kind of peak experiences or spiritual experiences can generate fear if they're not whole. But on the other hand, it can also generate or fuel narcissism, I guess, like an even stronger sense of being special. It's important to have that context.
And that's where the ego can get caught into that. And especially if that person certainly maybe has had a valid spiritual peak experience, but then if they're not together with peers, colleagues, other meditators to help them to understand that, and their ego just gets caught into it, then it can sort of run rife, and they lose that sort of the spirituality that they maybe had for a short time as they get caught up into themselves. The sort of cult figures that are like that maybe they had a valid experience, but just becomes a lot of self and very damaging for other people as well.
That's why we have so many lunatics in social media.
In social media?
Well, YouTube, wherever, they think they're teachers and they can teach about everything now. Very dangerous.
Yeah, sure.
I was going to say also that this sense of sacredness, it also depends on that word dukkha. We translated that word dukkha into suffering, but what the real meaning is not being satisfied. And if you have that, your being will look for it. Your being will look for something that Tim was saying, that love that you need, that acceptance of yourself.
Yeah. Well, the Buddhist word Sangvega, that describes fundamentally an experience of dukkha, of dissatisfaction, disappointment, even a feeling of depression, or what's the point? And so if someone experienced Sangvega and they went and saw a regular psychologist, they'd say, oh, well, you're depressed, and see a psychiatrist and get some medication. But Sangvega is a type of suffering because one senses and sees the unsatisfactory nature of the mundane material world and existence, a sense of what's the point. But it's also a type of a waking up, spiritual evolution to then look at what can be more fulfilling and satisfying, which again is not going to be a thing, but let's say a non-thing, more of a spiritual deep peace, so forth. But that becomes the inspiration. And generally the people with Sangvega, they don't feel satisfied, they don't feel happy in there's just their life, what they're doing, their things, the sense that there must be something more. What's the point? Why am I here? What am I doing? Time's going by. And that's sort of a spiritual call to look outside the square. And often that feeling is what brings people to meditation or to yoga or to some spiritual practice or some sort of tradition, religious tradition, to fulfill that heart yearning. So it's a good dukkha, a good wake up.
That allowed you to look it more inner and feel the blocks. Okay, you've got the block in the heart. Why? So actually explore.
And that certainly can be done in the context of meditation as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Feeling in.
Looking in more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same with ego too. It's so important to be able to see into that experience of the ego when it does arise, and see how it just grasps on and says, wow, this is great, this is me, I'm experiencing this, but it's like, then it's great to be able to move beyond that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's such a deep part of meditation. Because
the ego, that the thinking, as soon as there's thinking happening, it's going to limit, even stop that openness, that open presence, heartfulness occurring. But then that becomes the insight. See that limiting factor? And especially if there is a deep, profound peace when the mind is quiet, the understanding and the insight that the mind doesn't always have to be thinking, and that the thinking is just an arbitrary type of function that can be used skillfully. The Buddha speaks about right thought, the right use of thought. It doesn't have to be a constant, ongoing drone in the head. It can be a tool that you pick up and use, and then you put it away. I often talk to clients about thinking as a knife. And I say, did you bring a knife with you today? And they say, no. Did I need one? And I said, no, you don't need one, but knives are really helpful. You could look at the history of humanity through the use of knives, from blunt or from stones to cut things, to iron knives, to edge sort of weapons, defending, stealing, cutting, fighting, war, and so forth. The history of humanity through use of a knife. And how many knives do you have at home? Lots, for different purposes. And so I say to people, where are your knives? Are they in the bathroom? No, they're in the kitchen. Are they in the fridge? No, they're in the drawer, or they're in a special stand. Okay, and when you use a knife, do you pick it up by the blade or by the handle? By the handle. And do you have the sharp bit, the edge up or down? Well, down. And then you use it. You know how to use it, yes. And when you finish with it, do you put it in your pocket? No, you maybe wash it and put it back in the drawer. Okay, so that's a proper use of knife. Now, thinking is like a knife. It's very, very helpful, very, very important. It helps us to learn and develop and grow, but it's also dangerous like a knife. If you don't handle a knife properly, you can cut yourself, someone else. So thinking is the same. You need to learn how to use it, when to use it, how to use it, and then also when to put it away.
How to clean it.
How to clean how to clean it, yes. So the right use of thinking.
If this isn't sharp, then it needs to be sharp.
That's right. Sharp, clean, clear-minded thinking. Yes.
And I think that maybe some of the psychology practices around, CBT and some of those, it's thinking, like rather than being, like it's that left brain stuff that they're trying to manage or stress and suffering around.
Well, hence they're now using CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, together with mindfulness. So it's mindfulness-based, which also then allows the person to simply be aware of the thought without doing anything with it. So it'll then just dissipate. Because CBT was not enough. Because if one's caught up in your thoughts, it's very difficult to know what to do with them. But being mindful of them, very much like the Buddha's teachings, which in a way is a type of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, but particularly also to be aware that you don't need to be thinking. Or if a thought comes up, you can just notice it, don't have to answer it, validate it, react to it, challenge it, replace it. It's just background noise. Thinking, back to focusing on the breath.
Yeah, it's formless. Body's formed, mind is formless.
That's good.
I guess even, is it the right time for this thought? Maybe it is a useful thought, but now is not the right time.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
In traditional Chinese medicine, they say overthinking injures the body, injures the digestive system.
Yeah.
That's all that overthinking.
And that's thousands of years old. Cheryl?
Can you speak about, I've heard we are not our thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I would say a lot of the self is the thoughts. So the term we are what we eat physically, but also we are what we think. So if we have lots of thoughts, I'm no good, I'm a waste of time, why do people bother with me, nobody likes me, then that creates and conditions the fabric of the self. But also it's about, as we've been discussing, seeing that maybe what we are is beyond just those thinkings. So self is a lot made through the thinking, but your beingness, which can be apparent when you're not thinking, is so much more than the thoughts. Especially when we can start to see, well, that's just a negative thought. I don't need to eat that one. Sometimes people get the munchies on the negative thoughts. They call them junk food thoughts. And why does the body like junk food? Because it can rip a lot of energy out of junk food quickly. Sugar, salt, fat. And the same with junk food thoughts, negative thinking, angry thoughts, jealous thoughts. The ego can get a lot of energy quickly out of those sorts of thoughts. I'm so angry and they're wrong, and I'm so sort of frustrated, and who do they think they are? Getting caught into those creates a real strong position of me. So we have to be careful of those junk food thoughts. Meditation is the way. Any last questions? Well, that's good. The mind is quiet. The end of thinking, or a pause at least. So in ending, just before we do a last short meditation, appreciating that it's really special and significant, important, I would even say imperative for human beings to have something in their life that has that spiritual sacred domain. And yes, it can be a something. It can be like a statue. It could be some sort of medallion that has a spiritual meaning for one, that evokes that spiritual feeling. It can be chanting. It can be prayer. It can even be a structure, a temple, an ashram, a zendo, a mosque, a place that sort of inspires or encourages that sense of the spiritual, that otherworldly. It can even be a person that you feel is a very spiritual person that you know, or from the past, a sense of they're inspirational. They're an example of a really good human being. But also the spiritual can be the practice of meditation, which is something that we can then almost do anywhere, as long as the place is quiet enough and suitable enough. And so it's beyond needing a thing. It's something that becomes a practice that we engage in, and also then the result of that practice, which makes it quite special. So you can be practicing the spiritual practice of meditation here at home, sitting waiting for the dentist in the waiting room. You're being driven somewhere in the car, you can just practice that spiritual experience of meditation. So in that way, it transcends time and place, even person. It's not a thing. It becomes a non-thing, which in itself is spiritual, as opposed to physical. So meditation is special in that, and becomes more special the more we practice it and appreciate it, develop it. So it becomes part of our way of life, our way of being. That's the gift of meditation. So let's spend the last 10 minutes doing a short meditation, and then we can gift the goodness, the good karma, the good merit of our meditation to others that you want to bring to mind. So again, just settling into this short meditation, this brief meditation. Having our balanced sitting position, sitting posture. The eyes gently closed. Bringing awareness within whilst also breathing out any stress, tension. The next while, letting go of roles with responsibilities, obligations, duty, stress and thinking. So for the next 10 minutes, be free from roles, even being free from the role of being a meditator. Allowing just mindful knowing, conscious awareness in the present. Allowing the mind to quieten down from thoughts, feeling into the body with awareness, a sense of opening our heart to being present, that mind-heart awareness, more that right brain approach to experience, sensing, feeling, being, breathing, knowing, receiving the in-breath, relinquishing that, letting that go into the space around us. And settling into a sense of contentment. Contentment, ease, and joy. The joy of simply being. Being the peace. Finding the missing piece. And even having a sense of breathing into and out from our heart center. The spiritual heart in the center of the chest, breathing in to that heart area, breathing out from that heart area. Breathing into and out from the center of our chest. And in breathing in, we feel our whole body filled with a sense of ease and joy and well-being. Breathing out, we breathe that out into the space around us. Breathing in, receiving, breathing out, giving. Receiving, giving this respiration, respiriting process, breathing. And seeing if we can feel a sense of joy at how we've spent our morning, being here as a group, supporting each other through being here, being a collective, a group, a congregation, congregating together for the purpose of meditation, peace and wisdom, calm and clarity, generating wholesome karma, merit, and if there is someone or a few people or even animals that you'd like to share this energetic goodness with, this good vibe, then bringing them to mind, maybe seeing them in our mind's eye and breathing out from our heart this good will, this gift of good energy to those that we care about. Breathing into and out from our heart center. Whatever goodness has come from our life this morning through our meditation, we give that to those particular people, persons, beings. May they receive this gift of good energy. May their mind, heart be uplifted. May they be well and happy. Breathing in, breathing out from the heart center. And also sharing this goodwill also with ourself, our sense of self. May I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living my life well. Even having this sense of friendliness and kindness, care and compassion towards ourselves. So sharing this good energy with ourselves, enjoyed our good efforts in practicing meditation. May I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living my life well. Breathing into and out from our heart center, enveloping our whole body, our whole being with this good vibe, this kindness, care, and compassion. And beyond ourselves to everyone that's been part of this meditation morning, this half-day retreat, breathing out this good energy to everyone with a wish of may you all be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, living your life well. Breathing out from our heart center that goodwill, that good vibe, a sharing of good energy, merit. And as we breathe in, we receive that good energy from everyone else. Breathing out, giving, breathing in, receiving. This energetic, dynamic flow of goodwill, friendliness, kindness, and care. Breathing into and out from the heart center. Appreciating everyone's efforts in being here, sharing, listening, questioning, shared presence. Breathing into and out from the heart center. Bringing our awareness back now to ourself and with some inspiration, motivating ourselves to our practice of meditation. Motivation to continue to practice our meditation on a regular basis. Nourishing our being. Making this practice special, spiritual, and sacred. And when you feel ready to end this meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. So thank you for being here this day. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your generosity. And also please take those books. Feel free to take a few books to read, to contemplate. And also as a reminder, we have the Thursday night drop-in group every Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. So an hour, so 30 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of talk, and then 10 minutes of any questions or discussion. So if you haven't already been, then come along. And if you haven't been for a while, then come and share your presence. And then the next of our retreat days will be the 13th of July. And that's the first of the 4 Vassa retreats over the 3-month retreat period that Buddhist monastics observe. We can have monthly retreat to keep the practice going. And information is also on my website as well.
That'd be a full day?
I think it'll be a full day. Yeah. I'll be sending out information and email about that. Even if it is a full day and you can't stay the whole day, that's okay. Come for half day. But certainly keep your meditation going, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for coming. Thank you.